good afternoon and welcome. You're listening to the Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media, the podcast professionals. These are the stories of Australia's men and women, of the coaches that we entrust with the development of our players and teams. And in the main, these stories haven't been told. We're lucky enough today to have the Melbourne Victory women's head coach, Jeff Hopkins, with us. Welcome, Jeff. Great to have you on board. Let me just give people a little bit of a background because you've had obviously a wonderful playing career and coaching career. So this is not about playing, but if we talk about your playing career, and I've got a good remind me to come back to how a Welsh lad ends up signing with Fulham, because that's an interesting question. But Jeff had a distinguished playing career playing in the EFL across in the UK with Fulham, over 200 games, with Crystal Palace, 70 games there, 131 games with Reading. So that's a stellar career before heading into Asia and then ending up down in Gippsland, which is a fair change of things, where came as a player, ended up as a player coach until Gippsland Falcons were relegated. And then has had a wonderful career coaching, obviously at Melbourne Victory with a couple of championships there now, at Brisbane Roar with a couple of championships there. Had some time with the youth team at Brisbane Roar, assistant coach with the A-League team. And as well, sorry, Jeff, I forgot to mention also an international with Wales at under 21 and senior level. So welcome along, Jeff Hopkins, a distinguished football career.
Yeah, it's the playing career seems a long time ago, actually. But it was actually quite funny. The other day, one of my players sent me a video of an own goal I scored. So, and it was just about when colour TVs were coming in as well. So it was actually colour, so not quite that long ago.
Yeah, the advent of social media means there's nowhere to hide if there was such a thing as a camera or a photographer around. It's amazing what people can dig up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and most probably there's even more so nowadays. You can't get away with anything now. So there's cameras everywhere that you look, or there's phones everywhere you look. So yeah, sometimes I kind of feel for the modern day player. There's nowhere to hide for them.
No. So before we jump in, boots and all, how does a good Swansea lad that maybe could have ended up playing rugby or singing in a choir, because they're two strong Welsh pastimes, how does a Swansea lad end up down in London and now talking with the remnants of a lovely London accent there still? How did all that come about?
Yeah, well, I was born in Swansea. But I only lived there for maybe, I think, a year and a half before we moved. We moved up into the Reading area, 40 odd miles west of London, and I spent most of my time in that Reading area before moving back to Wales just for 1 year when I was, I think, 10 or 11. And yeah, it was so although I saw myself as Welsh, and I'm now half Australian, half Welsh, but I spent most of my time, especially those kind of formative years in football, in being brought up in the Reading area. So I spent most of my time there, but still a very, very proud Welshman. So and through that period, there was obviously there was the local team was Reading, but I was picked up quite early, and as a schoolboy at Fulham, and used to travel a couple of days a week to one of their satellite centres just outside London. And I came kind of through that system there, and yeah, Fulham at the time were very active. They had a great youth setup there, and so I came through there, and I got a good football education there. They were known for being a team, not a massive team, but a team that played good football and looked after their young players well. So which is what they had to do as they weren't a massive club, so they had to look after people really well. So yes, and I left school and went straight in and did an apprenticeship with Fulham back in the days when you were an apprentice professional footballer. So which is
cleaning your fair share of boots then, yeah.
Cleaning boots, cleaning changing rooms, washing kit. Yeah, we did a bit of everything. Washing the manager's car, getting his right side.
Jeff, being all a part of that as a young pro, does that give you any sort of affinity with the Melbourne Victory Academy kids? I know you're a part of your role, I think, is working with the academy as well.
Yeah, look, it's. I look at the role that I've had in the 5 years here with the W League being such a short season. I'm involved with the W League for maybe 6 months of the year, and involved with the academy boys for another 6 months. Although I've just in my new role now, I will be staying completely with the women on the for the whole of the 12 months. Now it's just going to be completely focused on the women's side in the W League. But yeah, it was a perfect job for me, really, because I do enjoy the day-to-day, just the day-to-day workings of the club, setting a team up to win on the weekend. That real kind of performance side of things, I really enjoy that. But also, I really love the development side as well, and I enjoy working with young players, seeing just really bright young players developing and getting better and better. So the job I've had for the last 5 years has been perfect for me. It gives me 6 months of the year where you can really get down to focusing on setting your team up, winning games, and then you get another 6 months where you can, really look at development and individual development, and hopefully trying to help players make themselves better. So yeah, look, I think the experiences I had as a young player and the number of people that helped me along the way, and really had big influences on me as a young player. I just want to, I want to do the same, and maybe have a bit of an influence on some of these younger players' lives, and try and help where I can.
Good on you. Good on you. Congratulations to down here in Melbourne today. Just announced that you've just been offered and accepted a new 2-year deal at Melbourne Victory. So congratulations. Wonderful reward for a fantastic season for Melbourne Victory women after another piece of silverware in the cabinet. So congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, look, it's been a great season this year. One of the most enjoyable ones for me in all my years in football. But yeah, look, I'm really happy to be committing to the club again. I say since I've been here, 5 years I've been here, the club's been fantastic. They've supported me in every way that I've asked them. Never said no to me. Look, it's we've had a premiership and I think a second place last year and a championship this year. But I think people maybe forget that my first year at the club we finished rock bottom, so it could have all been over, straight away. So look, the club backed me and obviously saw something in what I was doing that was going to, that they could see that we were making some progress, not just around the position on the league. And they've it's great to have got some success, and it's great to just to commit to the club again for another couple of years.
No, congratulations, mate. The women's program's been a shining light for Victory, which has obviously been a tough year, or a tough couple of years for the club on and off the pitch. So all power to you. All right, let's jump in. Let's get into your coaching journey a little bit more. I know that you've now got an AFC Pro license. but I think
Yes.
you may have begun your coach education in the UK as you were coming towards the end of your playing career.
Yeah. It's funny. When I was at Reading, I got the opportunity through an Aussie coach. Actually, it was there. I was under Mark McGee, Colin Lee, and Mick Hickman came over as an assistant coach as well. And I loved the way Mick was around the players, and got pretty friendly with him. And he kind of got me started with my coaching and gave me the opportunity to start working with some of the younger lads in some of the teams in the at Reading. And I was then I think three players myself, a player called Darius Dovcek, who's a really polished Polish international he was at the time, and Dylan Kerr. We went and started our C licenses, or the equivalent to our C licenses then, while we were playing. And then I carried on and did my UEFA B over there as well, before getting a move to as a player still when I was 33, 34 over to Malaysia. And so I had my UEFA C and B, and when I then moved to Gippsland, just most probably for 1 year. I probably thought I'd come over and play in the old NSL and have one last year at 34, and then go back to the UK and finish off my badges over there. But we enjoyed ourselves so much. My wife and the kids enjoyed Australia so much that we thought we'd stay another year, and we're still here.
Here we are.
I got to kind of thank Stuart Munro for talking me into coming over. Actually, Stuart, most probably the funniest story is that he got me to believe that Morwell was one of the outer suburbs of Melbourne. So I must have wanted to come quite badly, and we had some really good times in Morwell and Traralgon. But it was a lot longer, the journey from the airport to Morwell, than I'd expected. So,
it is a wee drive down there still. The freeways are maybe a little bit better, but it's still a decent drive.
That's right. And
Jeff, did you have any inkling that the end of your playing career at Morwell might lead into that initial, I think, player coaching or player managing at the start, because Stuart went off to coach Carlton when they kicked off in the NSL, I think.
Yeah. Look, I didn't have any thoughts about that at all when I went to the club, but after a few months, Stuart was down there kind of on his own, doing everything. And I found out when I took over the job the following year that the head coach basically does everything around the place. It's a tough gig, but a great learning environment. And Stuart asked me if I could give him a hand just to take a little bit of the workload. I didn't do a huge amount, but just take a bit of the workload off him. And so I was more than happy to do that. When he then got the Carlton job the year after, then I was offered the job. I think Stuart had a little bit to do with that as well, recommended me for it, and I took over the job down there, and it was a real eye opener. It's as a professional player, you think you work hard and life is tough, but until you start coaching, you don't realise what a fantastic life you've lived for the last sort of 18, 20 years. And it was I can remember just some of the things that I did in that job. I think before one of the NSL games, I was driving around Gippsland trying to get green food dye, because we wanted to bring the pitch in, or I wanted to bring the pitch in to the minimum spec to hopefully have a bit of an effect on the team we were playing. And I had to drive around Gippsland all day trying to get green food dyed so we could get rid of the white lines that were showing.
I love it. It's amazing, isn't it? As a pro player, you think you know all about football, and until the minute you take on a coaching role, and then you realise you just don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look as well. I think that the role of a coach is so wide as well. It's not just getting out there and coaching for an hour and a half once a day. There's so much that's involved, and yeah, look, it was a fantastic learning environment for me. Learning about how to deal with players, how to deal with a team that wasn't successful as well. We were a very competitive side, but we weren't a successful side, and having to deal with the psychology side of things and how to motivate the players when they haven't won for 5 or 6 weeks. I learned so much around there. Learning to the last year I was there, dealing with a team that was going into receivership as well. So and then you've got to deal with the people, with your players as people rather than as footballers as well. Players that maybe haven't paid their mortgage for a couple of months because they haven't been paid. It was a tough few years, but it was a really enjoyable few years, and something that's I think has really shaped me as a coach in terms of the way I do things now, and the way I behave and the way I maybe interact and treat players and people now.
So that first opportunity was really important in helping shape the coach that you are today.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I got to say that I'm a completely different coach now. I was much closer to the player I was as a coach back then. Maybe a little bit headstrong. I had very strong beliefs in the way things were done. I'd give my opinion and tell people a lot more than let them take a little bit of get a little bit more back from the players. Yeah, look, I was quite loud and quite aggressive as a coach. I learned that's probably not the best way to get the best out of your players. It's because I think I still get loud now, but I think it's very rarely I do, and it's something that you've got to most probably be very careful in how you talk to players and how you treat players. There's got to be a real consistency about myself as a coach and the way that I communicate with players. I can't be kind of up and down. I think your players have got to know and trust you and trust that they know you well, and by losing your head and getting into situations where you maybe let a little bit of frustration and anger come out, I think you kind of lose the respect and lose the trust of your players. So I think that's probably what I learned through that period, was that it's probably relationships, your player-coach relationships is most probably the most important thing. And once you've got a good relationship with your players, and as I say, a good relationship with players, then they begin to trust you. Then they feel comfortable, and you then can. Without that, you don't get the best out of players. And it's
probably true in every relationship, that, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I say it's. I think whether you're dealing with young players, whether you're dealing with senior players, young players have got to feel safe around you in the environment. They've got to feel safe to speak to you, to give their opinions. And I think it's the same with anyone really. You got to build that relationship, build that respect, and once you've got that, then I think you then get the best out of your players. And
Jeff,
it doesn't matter.
Sorry to come across you. On that point, do you think that you coach differently with boys and men as opposed to young girls and women? Is there a conscious change in you as a coach, or is that what you've learned works across both spectrums?
I think it's something that works across both spectrums, like you say. I think I've learned a lot since I've started coaching female players. But I think I hate kind of. I'd say hate. I don't like to just to make generalisations and say, look, I coach females, this is how I coach males, and I think in general in coaching male and female, there's more similarities than differences, really. And I just think, look, I think for me, with female players, I feel the only thing, relationships are really important with male and female players, but I think I have to maybe just work a little bit harder with our female players and maybe invest a little bit more time and energy into the relationships. But I feel when I do that I get a huge amount back as well. So it's look, it's something that I kind of swear by now, and that's I see that as most probably the most important thing. I look at two things most probably in my coaching is relationships and environment. But I think the relationship is the first thing. You've got to build those relationships. You've got to have a good understanding of who the players are. I think you need to. We spend a lot of time learning about the person, not just the player. And I think once you get that relationship and you get that trust, and then players will open up to you, and they're then I think I hope that when I speak to players that I've got good relationships with, when I have to at times be critical with them, they understand it's either to make them a better player, to help them as a player, or it's to help or make the team better. It's not a personal thing. And I think without the good relationship to in the first place, I think then sometimes that message is lost, and then that's where maybe relationships break down, and you talk about coaches losing the changing room and things like that. It's I think that's kind of where it starts from.
From a coaching perspective, which coach had the most influence on you when you were playing, and why?
Most probably it's a really interesting one. I worked with some good coaches, and it's probably it's probably a youth team coach, Terry Mancini, who was an ex-Arsenal and Northern Republic of Ireland international. He really. I had him as my youth team coach at Fulham, and he really taught us a lot about what it took to be a professional footballer. He was a real passionate guy, and he really shaped my work ethic, and and just my character really, in terms of never giving up. When you make mistakes, it's always don't think back, think what's coming next. And also, he taught me a huge amount about the game as well as a defender. I was a right back in those days, and converted into the central defence after that. But he had a real I say influence on me as my character and just an understanding of knowing what I needed to do. First of all, to get myself a pro contract, and then to stay. Yeah, then it's kind of day by day. You have to turn up every single day. It's and just okay. Don't think about what you did yesterday. Think about what you're going to do today and tomorrow. So he had a massive influence on me. It's probably Ray Harford as well. He was Ray left Fulham and he went on to Blackburn, and I think he worked under Kenny Dalglish when Blackburn won the Premiership. He was the first coach that I really looked at and thought, wow, he was giving us something different in the way that we played, the way that we set up. And yeah, he tactically was very, very smart. And he got me thinking a different way about the game. And so Ray was, again, a very, very astute, defensive coach, and just the way that he set the team up from the front through the middle at the back. He was probably the first coach that I'd looked at and thought, wow, this guy's got a whole of team approach, and what your strikers are doing, bears some relation to the midfield line behind, and then we've got to adjust. And when the team is in different parts of the field, we defend in a different way, showing inside in different areas of the field, and linking that to then what we did when we won the ball as well. So he was a very, very smart coach, and not a great surprise that he went on to bigger and better things further on down the line. And then most probably Steve Koppel as a manager was another one who, what I learnt from him was, again, I enjoyed playing at Palace, because when I was at Crystal Palace, we played a very direct game. We played back to front, and we, as a central defender, I was really restricted in what I could do. There was no freedom to express yourself. It was, this is what you do when you get the ball. This is where you pass it to. You pass into these areas, but very, very very, very structured in the way we did things, but very, very successful as well. He knew the players he had, and most probably, definitely, I'm looking at the team we had. We had Ian Wright, Mark Bright up top, and it was basically get the ball into that area, keep it in that area, and then get the ball to these guys. And the more that we can do that, the more opportunities they're going to make, and the more goals we're going to score, the more games we're going to win. And so it was. It most probably wasn't the most enjoyable time that I had playing, but as a professional player, you want to win, and we won. We got up into the top league the following season, and got to play against your Liverpools, your Man Uniteds, and because of the way that because of the structure of the team. And again, that's something that's kind of stayed with me as well. So I took a fair bit from a number of the coaches, and then even going forward to the Reading period. Reading was the complete opposite. But again, under Mark McGee and Colin Lee, we played with freedom. We played, but he would say to us, we want to play out from the back. We want to build up. We want to play through the midfield. And he had again another real strong plan, but it was the complete opposite to what I've done at Crystal Palace. And it was. I enjoyed playing there. I felt at Palace I wasn't really valued or rated by the manager, but that because anyone can do that job. You're doing it at the moment, but if you don't do it, I'll get someone in that can do it. So yeah, but at Reading, I was valued as a player, and I'd kind of look at those two periods, and both very successful, but what did I enjoy as a player? And that's kind of shaped the way I do things. I want to play as a coach. I want to make my players feel good. I want to make my players feel valued, and I want to play a style of play that they'll enjoy. But also, I understand as well, especially being at Victory, got to win as well. So there's a balance to be reached. But I guess I feel if I do the way I want to play, and if I do that properly, if I get the right players to do that, then we will be successful and we will enjoy playing the game. And because of that, people will enjoy watching us as well.
Yeah. Is a part of that? I've asked this question a couple of times because I actually heard the question framed on a business podcast. But as a professional coach, there's a big difference between aspiration and capability, and maybe that sort of explains the difference between Crystal Palace and Reading. I'm not quite sure whether that's a coaching philosophy or a necessity of this is how we want to play. But these are the assets, these are the players that we've got to work with, and this is who we're playing against today. Can we play? We want to play like Barcelona, but do we have the capability to play like Barcelona? Because today we're playing.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. It's I think you're as a coach, you got to look at the players that you've got, and you've got to if you're a clever coach, you adjust and you adapt to the players that you've got in front of you. So if you've got a Jeff Hopkins at the back, most probably the best idea is to get the ball to him and get him to play with as few touches as possible. But if you've got a PK or something like that at the back, then you can play and you can play a different way. And look, it's funny you should say that, because I think the way I want to play is quite I'm very sure of the way I want my teams to play. But as I guess the W League is a funny environment as well, because we're trying to do things differently and sign players on multi-year contracts, so we get a bit of continuity of players. But it hasn't always been like that, and at times you're rebuilding a team from zero to 20 players in the squad. So although you want to play a certain way, sometimes you don't get the exact players that you want, or you're bringing players in that you still don't understand fully their capabilities. So our W League season is always a little bit of a journey, and I think by the end of the season we're always playing the way that we want to in the style that we play. But at the beginning of the season, sometimes, well, I think every year that we've been here, we've had to build towards something at the end of the season. Now, as you get to know the players and you get to know the capabilities of the players, or the full capabilities of the players, because you never really know them until you get them, and you're there and you're working with them. Then I think then you just build and build and build towards the way that you want to play. I think if your recruitment's right, which ours so far has been good, you've got a pretty good idea of what the capabilities of these players are. But sometimes you just need to tweak the team and just the way that you play, and maybe build week on week. And again, hopefully the say relationships, and then the environment's got to be right. Your training environment, hopefully you've got the the right sort of players with that kind of growth mentality that they want to get better each day and each week, and then you can build towards something. And I suppose the way that that we play in Australia with the Premiership being important, but the grand final being of most importance, that that kind of works well in the W League, because you can build things up and get a bit of a head of steam on from it doesn't matter if you're not right at it at the first few weeks of the season. You can start to build something towards the final.
Yeah. You touched on this a little bit before, but how has your coaching changed over the journey?
Look, I guess I've most probably been through a few changes in what I do. Like I say, I think definitely my coaching manner has changed. Again, a lot of the stuff now I do is quite player driven. I think that our players get. I hope they do anyway. This is the way they get a little bit of the same what we're doing and how we do things. And I do speak to players. I do go out there and actively seek their feedback from what we're doing. I think I've got a clear way that I want to play, but the players really need to buy into that. And I think, early on when I was doing things, I did things because that's the way I wanted them done, and the players need to do as I say. But I guess on that side of things, I've become bring the players in and bring the players into the decision making around what we do and how we do it as much as I can. But I guess the other thing is as well, again, from coming straight into the game, from playing to coaching, like I said before, there's so much that you don't really understand that needs doing, and especially if you've got maybe 4 sessions a week to set a team up. You've got the organisation of your training sessions. You've got to touch upon all areas of the team, in all areas of the field leading into a game. It's very, very difficult, and most probably, going back to what I was like in that first period I was coaching, I was missing out so much, and you focus on what you feel are the main things, and then there's lots of holes appearing, and I think it's I've really got to say that the education I got on my A license and my pro license has been a really valuable experience for me. Watching other good coaches work. I say the A license and the pro really kind of got me thinking a little bit more deeply about the game, and around the organisation of your team, and how you scout other teams. So I'm a much more organised coach now. I hope that there's times when I jump back to keeping things as simple as I possibly can. I think sometimes there's and maybe giving them a little bit less information, but in general, I think I try to give as much information to the team as possible, get them as well prepared as possible. But also, it's probably in a way where understanding that the players as well are all different. So a number of them needs some of the feedback in. Some of them need individual feedback after the session. They need visual stuff before and after the session. Some of them don't like too much information. So just getting to know your players, how they want to receive the information, and then just working hard with your support staff to make sure that they get what they need before the game. It's more individualised.
Yeah, like that. You're listening to the Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media, the podcast professionals. Today's guest is Jeff Hopkins, head coach and newly appointed for another couple of years, coach and championship winning coach of Melbourne Victory Women. We're having a great chat about his coaching journey. So, Jeff, what is coaching?
Cool. It's most probably, let's say it's a real wide, sort of real kind of gamut of things. But I guess in terms, for me, I think it's quite simple. I think you're bringing players into an environment, and I think it's got to be a learning environment. And for me, I think if I'm coaching successfully, players are getting better, players are learning. It's got to be. I think it's got to be an environment where you're learning and improving. So I guess flipping that up, you've got to be teaching. And like I said just before, I think there's got to be an element of the team and growing the team and getting the team better and improving all elements of the team. But also, I think what I've kind of learnt over the years is that within that team, you've got a group of individuals that you've got to get through to. So, the way that you communicate with players, the way that you get your message across is most probably the most important thing. Again, there's a lot of, and I don't always get it right, but I'm not saying I'm perfect by a long way, but because I do sit back and look at myself at times. I think, oh wow, what have you done there? It's completely wrong. But yeah, look, you've got to realise that you've got different players that you've got to give the visual ones. You got to let them see what they're doing. Some of them you got to sit down and talk to them and draw pictures. You got to some of them, like I say, don't want a huge amount of information. They want to do it. They want to see it on the field, and that's enough for them. So I think for me it's an environment where people are learning, coaches are teaching, and everyone's getting better. And that's say coaches are teaching, but coaches are learning as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to learn every day, that's for sure. No, I like that a lot. Thanks, mate. On that vein then, keeping that going, you mentioned your coach education began in the UK, finished in Australia and Asia. Have you had either formally or informally a coaching mentor along the way, someone that you can trust and relate and bounce ideas off?
It's probably not really. I'd say most probably not. No, it's and that's most probably something I most probably wish. Well, not most probably. It's definitely I wish I could have. I guess when I first came over to Australia and really started to coach, was most probably when I got to Gippsland. I was in the NSL. That's most probably where I needed a mentor then. And it's I guess what I had to do then is what I've done then is gone off and tried to find out information myself, reading articles and speaking to different people and trying to take things on board. It's probably if there's one thing you asked me that I would have liked to have done better, and would have been fantastic to have somebody that I could have could have just picked the phone up and say, hey, this is happening. I don't know what to do. You know, what can you give me a little bit of advice, or just to bounce a few things off? I know. Look, I do that with my assistant coaches. I've got a great assistant coach at the moment, Gareth Turnbull. That we bounce things off each other all the time, and it's great for Gareth because he's not the type of person that will just nod his head and agree. He'll throw a few questions back at me, and yeah, it's a really good environment that we've got at the moment. But yeah, it's probably something I haven't done. If I've had problems, I've gone off and tried to read up on those problems and try and fix them myself. And probably
how about others? Sorry, Jeff. How about other sports? Have you ever do you read, or have you looked at other team-based sports, other coach leaders that are out there and Nick?
Yeah, that's probably a good environment I was in. I was in the Queensland Academy of Sport, looking after the women's program up there for 3 or 4 years, and I really enjoyed that because I was in the office with all the different coaches. So yeah, look, I did. It was funny. One of the teams that I got quite friendly with, one of the coaches, it was the water polo teams, which had no and the hockey and the swimming coaches, and so there were a number of things that I picked up from there. And look, a lot of it, even from the swimming coaches there, how meticulous they were about their training, and they spoke about a gold medal will be lost by 100th of a second. So they used to equate that to the training year. You miss one session, and that's 100th of a second. That will lose you a gold medal. And yeah, just some of the things I picked up there. It was a really good environment to learn. It's but most probably no. Most probably there's no other sport that I've kind of jumped into and thought, wow, this is we can learn a huge amount from this.
I think those. I like you. I had spent a couple of years at the AIS, and we used to do. Had the opportunity to have all those other sports around, and the sharing of ideas was just. I think coaches by nature, because they are teachers, I'm guessing, normally seem really happy having conversations and sharing, whether that's formal or informal. But I think elite coaches at any level have a capacity to be able to offer up information to people, don't they? Yeah. So why do you do it? Why are you a coach?
God, look, I love what I do. I've been since I was 16. I've either been playing football or coaching football. I've had a short period at the end of when, like I said earlier, that Gippsland. When I was down in Gippsland, the team went into receivership. I was out of work for maybe a month or so. I started a teaching degree at that time, but then I was still working part-time coaching. I actually, while I was there, one of the directors at Gippsland was he offered me some work in the coal mines, so in the open cut mine, and I did 2 weeks of 12-hour shifts in the coal bunkers at Loy Yang B or something like that, and that was enough to realise that hang on a minute, some people actually have to work for a living. So look, I love the game of football, and I've just been so lucky to be able to work in the game. And yeah, look, I realise how lucky I am to be able to coach full time in the position I am at the club I am, and I kind of get up every day, kind of making sure that I stay in this position as long as I can by working as hard as I can to keep things going. But yeah, look, I guess it's the simple answer to that is I love the game of football, and I just want to stay in it for as long as I can.
Good on you. I like that as well. You mentioned in the chat a couple of times you're working at Gippsland Falcons and they go into receivership. You mentioned being at Melbourne Victory as the head coach and finishing bottom one season, maybe a couple of seasons along the journey. They're never pleasant times, losing a job, struggling with the performance of what's going on. How important is it, do you think, for coaches to develop resilience, obviously on a personal level, and then hopefully to be able to help teach that?
Yeah, look, I think that's what do they say? You're not a real coach until you've been sacked. So look, it's going to happen to you at some stage. And look, I don't think you can go through your your coaching career and not hit hard times. And look, I think it's part of the coach's life, and it's got to be part of the coach's kind of armory that they need to be. They need to be able to cope through those times, because they need to be a leader through tough times. Your team's struggling, you're losing a few games. You've got to know how to handle that. You've got to know how to lead people out of those situations. And I guess there's going to be times when you do a good job at that, but you're still not going to be successful. So for you as a coach and a person, you need to understand that look, there's going to be times where you're going to have to lead yourself out of those situations. And look, it's hard, because it's in those periods where you are going through a tough period. That's when you question yourself the most. Am I doing the right thing? What else can I be doing? And I think it's most probably a time where you need to kind of back yourself and back your judgment and say, right, I got to be strong and stick with what you believe. For me, I think I was quite lucky. I came through some quite hard times at an early age as a player. When I was at Fulham, I was released as a player, told I wasn't good enough, and then was given 6 months to go away and sort myself out. And I came back to Fulham then as a 16-year-old, and had to just fight for a place. And I kind of, like I said, the coaches I had at that time built that little bit of toughness into me, and they explained to me that everyone wants to have the glamorous side of professional football, but that's not what it's like. It's a grind, and it's a day-to-day thing. And if you don't perform, then odds are that you won't play. And if you're not playing, you're no good to the club, and so you won't. Your next contract's gone. So and it's the same as a coach. But again, the difference with the coaching side of things is you are leading people. So you don't need to just look after yourself, but you need to be able to convince others around you and lead people around you when times are hard. So it's that resilience is really important, and it's sometimes it's a tough thing to have, and you can't. Even the toughest, most resilient people go through their low spots, and it's I guess for me, I try and surround myself with really good people, with people I know that can support me and can, if I'm having a bad day, which I often do, then I can lean on Gareth and say, hey mate, I need you to step up today. And
Yeah.
when you've got good people around you, that can be that's often the case. And I say this year was a good example of it. That, you know, with COVID and the uncertainty of the season, and you know, there was so much going on that, you know, sometimes you get up and you think, so what's going to happen today? And you know, you go in and you haven't got the energy that you normally have, and you know, it's just times that you say, right, I've got to put the face on, and I've got to not show the people around me that I'm feeling that way. And it's and when you've got good people around you as well, sometimes you get away with it because you say, Gareth, I need you today. You drive this today. I'm lacking a bit of energy, or you know, I've got other things that I need to do. So but it's a tough one, and it's definitely it's a quality that if you look at the top coaches around the world, then they've got this real resilience and this ability to just shrug things off and just keep driving forward. And that's hopefully I've got a little bit of that somewhere every now and again.
Good on you. All right. On the flip side of that, then, what have been some of your most enjoyable moments as a coach?
Look, again, most probably couple of things make me really happy as a coach. Obviously, winning games and actually winning championships, and that's been great. And as a coach, there's nothing better than to have put a plan into place in a game, and then it comes off, and you win the game, and everything goes well. Now, when you kind of multiply that by the amount of games that you play, and when you win a championship, it's and then you as a coach as well. It's not just that internal thing for you. You're then happy because all your assistant coaches and your staff, we've all worked together to put this together, and that's really, really pleasing. And then you look at your players and how happy they are, and then you kind of realise as a head coach, this is great. We've put this together, and together we've achieved this great thing. And this year was as special to me as any championship I won as a player or as a coach, because there was a lot going on this year, a lot of upheaval, and we came together as a group at the beginning of the season. We kind of said, look, this season is going to be up and down. We're going to have things thrown at us, but can we stick together and look after each other? Can we deal with what's in front of us? And if we can do that, we've got a good opportunity to go a long way this year. And I was really proud of the way that our staff pulled together and looked after the team, and the way that the team looked after each other and looked after us as well. And it was, I think that was kind of one thing that I've really talk about things that I really love about the job. That was as good as it's been for me in the years that I've been playing and coaching. Most probably the other thing then is that obviously the just seeing players improve and get better and move on to bigger things. And I've worked with Angela Beard for the last our left back and our captain. I've seen her grow, and last year she was amazing as a captain. Her first year as a skipper, put a lot into it, and unfortunately, when players play that well and they get noticed, she's moved on this year. She's heading over to Europe, and it's a sad thing for the club and for me as a coach, but it's also a real proud. Yeah. I feel really proud of her, and really, I'm just really happy to see her getting to where she deserves to get to, and seeing players achieve their goals as well, and getting to play somewhere they've wanted to to play for the last maybe 10 years, and she's been working towards that, and that's really rewarding for me as a coach as well. So it's nice to be able to have some sort of just a little part to play in that.
Yeah, that's great. You're listening to The Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coach Australia and Making Media, the podcast professionals. We're with Jeff Hopkins, head coach of Melbourne Victory Women. And Jeff, we're on the downhill run here, mate. You've done a great job. Couple of questions to go. What are some of the valuable lessons you've learned along your coaching journey?
Wow. Yeah, look, I think it's probably the first thing is it's probably the way that I've maybe changed, and the players have helped me to change. I say when I came into the game as a coach, it was probably 20 plus years ago, thinking that I knew everything about the game. And within a very, very short time, I realised I knew what I didn't. I knew a lot. What I didn't know was a lot more than what I did know. And it's look, it's been a real good journey. Once you kind of realise that, and you think, right, I've got to change. It's been really good for me to just to look back and to see some of the things that I was doing, some of the things that I'm not doing now, and some of the things I am doing that I wasn't doing back then. It's been most probably looking back on the journey. Kind of makes me feel that I've really grown as a person and as a coach, and that's really pleasing for me. It's something I try to do in terms of my coaching. I try to sit back and have a little look at things, if not on a daily basis, but maybe on a weekly and over the season, and look at the things that I've done well, things that I haven't done well, and yeah, I still look at things and cringe some of the times, some of the things that I do still, but you know, it's when you reflect on what you do, and it's not with want of trying to change things. So I'm always trying to get a little bit better at different things that I'm doing, but it also kind of pleases me when I look back and think, yeah, I've moved closer to the coach I want to be than the coach I was. So yeah, it's probably that's the one of the real things that I kind of feel good about myself in, something that I've really learned. And I say it's probably the one thing that really helped me is, again, when I spoke earlier about going to uni and starting my teaching degree, that I've learned so much through that period of time on how to communicate with people, how to just to set a good learning environment, and that's really helped me kind of kick on from there as well. So that's probably one or two of the things that I've kind of learned, and sometimes it's nice to say, yeah, well done. I think you've done all right in that area there.
Give yourself a pat on the back, mate.
Yeah, sometimes
you deserve it. Yeah. That's great. Good on you. All right. Final thing then, Jeff. If you had one piece of wisdom you could share with new coaches, beginning coaches partway through their journey, coaches that are experienced, what's one piece of wisdom that you'd share?
Yeah, maybe, most probably a couple of things. It's probably one would be what we've spoken about earlier, is find someone you can talk to, find someone you can trust, and get yourself a mentor, and because that will fast track your development towards the coach that you want to be. Especially someone that's experienced and that's been through things. They can, look, they've been through a lot of the things that you're going through, and can kind of maybe, like I say, fast track you through. You don't have to make all the mistakes that maybe that they've made. They can maybe avoid a little bit of that. And then let's probably just have a really open mindset, a growth mindset, where you can, look, as soon as you start coaching, you realise that, like I said, there's so much that you don't know. You've got to keep learning. So you've got to set a learning environment for your players. But as coaches, we need to keep learning. And I've been at it now for 25, 30 years, and still there's so much still to be learned. The game's evolving, the game's moving on, and you've got to keep up with it, and you've got to keep up with things. And if you've got that mindset where you want to learn and you want to keep getting better, then you've got a chance. You definitely got a chance. But get yourself a good mentor to help you, and a real a real open mindset to keep learning and keep getting better every day.
Love that, mate. What a wonderful place to finish. Really, really enjoy it. Thank you, Jeff Hopkins. You've been listening to The Football Coaching Life, a podcast brought to you by Football Coaches Australia and Making Media the Podcast Professionals. If you'd enjoyed our conversation with Jeff today, if you'd like to find out more about Football Coaches Australia, go to footballcoachesoz.org.au. More information, listen to a podcast, buy a membership, renew a membership. You have a great day.